morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
Those young and sometimes not so young hands who make their living starting colts or working with tough, spoiled horses have my greatest admiration. And this week, 3 of them will drop in with some of their more colorful colt starting and spoiled horse memories.
Going along, and I say these thoughts are flashing through my mind pretty quick. It's jump and get killed or hit the fence and get killed.
Baxter Black looks at how they handicap team ropers. And I don't mean by having missing fingers.
They made me a number 3 heeler, when in fact, I should be a number 2.
On the Rangeland News, the analysts are always, it seems, updating their cattle market predictions, and we're going to bring you the latest.
One thing is clear, there is more beef out there, more being produced than last year.
In the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight, Chris Isaacs has a pretty good one about a rancher's bet with his banker.
Now, I'm sure he'd tried this trick on many an unsuspecting catch, and he'd probably won more times than lost, because his eyes was so well matched.
On the Irvin Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, a listener has a problem with a horse that is otherwise pretty much perfect, but the problem has cost him a lot of money for repairs. And the 2018 Stony Plain Cowboy Festival takes place August 17th to the 19th, and this will be the 26th annual at Heritage Park in Stony Plain, and here's one of the fine performers you can hear there, Alberta's Jackson McKenzie.
My daddy calls him Cowboy, although his name is Glenn. He has been a cowboy since no one remembers when. He busted broncs, he rode the range, the fences he would mend. He'll do it till his life comes to an end. He talks of summer roundups, eating beans and prairie dust, the roping and the branding and the broncs that he would bust. He's been through blizzards, pouring rain, and blazing sun as well. He's been near cold as ice and hot as hell. Now cowboys wear their fancy hats and boots without a scratch. The Broncos that they drive don't have a saddle on their backs. They drink and fight into the night just like they did before. But cowboys just ain't cowboys anymore. He's had a quarrel now and then with wolves and neighbors too, but he's still not a redneck after all that he's been through. He's always treated grizzly bears and ladies with respect. He's lived a decent life without regret. Now cowboys wear their fancy hats and boots without a scratch. The Broncos that they drive don't have a saddle on their backs. They drink and fight into the night just like they did before. But cowboys just ain't cowboys anymore. Now cowboys wear their fancy hats and boots without a scratch. The Broncos that they drive don't have a saddle on their backs. They drink and fight into the night just like they did before. But cowboys just ain't cowboys anymore. No, cowboys just ain't cowboys anymore.
Real nice CD there with a good bunch of songs on it from Jackson McKenzie. And Jason Irwin and his family run North Star Livestock. That's near Port Elgin, Ontario, where Jason does everything from start colts to develop performance horses. And he spends a lot of time fixing problem horses. And you started pretty young, Jason.
Well, I started my first colt when I was about 12 years old. Basically, from there on, we always raised some horses, so I starting our own. We just went farther and farther with that. Then I starting customer horses. Several years ago, we were in the cattle and the horses then for a long time. And when that mad cow disease thing came out, the cattle were doing really, really poor. And so we kind of phased the cattle out and increased the horse business end of it. So then I just basically rode horses all day long. And we would buy horses that had little training or no training. And then I'd start them, and then we'd buy some that had some training, and I'd add the spit and polish to them. And then I did a lot of that, and then I started taking in outside horses again. And I've just been training horses pretty much forever. I try to study every technique, every trainer that's got any good thoughts. I'll happily borrow from anybody and put those ideas into my program. And I'm just always trying to get just a little bit better. I'm always looking for a hint or a trick or a tip or something that would make me a little better, and that's just basically what I've been doing.
Did you have any mentors, any old-timers or successful horsemen that you were able to, they took you under their wing or you worked with over the years?
No, my story is probably a little bit different in that regard. Personally, when I started my first colt, I had a fellow that kind of told me how to go about it. But it was sort of if you were alive at the end of the program, you passed the program type deal. So I'd get on the colt, and they'd kind of maybe throw something at it or scare it or something like that, maybe get you thrown off. So I always said I never really learned anything about horse training there, but I learned how to hold on so that was kind of my introduction to it. But most of it actually I've done through I could have paid my way through Harvard with what I've spent on DVDs and books and stuff like that. And then we always had so many horses that you would get an idea, and then you had 20 head to experiment with that idea on. So I think that's helped me quite a bit in my clinic business, because somebody else that's had a mentor, that's great, you'll go faster. I think that's a given. But I've tried every wrong way, so eventually you narrow it down to the right way. And at the clinics now, when a person's having a problem, if they're doing something wrong, chances are I've tried that wrong route. So I kind of know how to get out of trouble, maybe, because I've had so many different experiences along that way.
Jason has never been to Alberta before the main event, but after watching him start a colt, a lot of cow bosses were saying, where has this guy been and how can I entice him to our outfit? Anyhow, he'll talk about some of his more colorful adventures and about things that maybe could have gone differently when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. Now, whenever horsemen get together, there is experience and information shared, for sure, and you can bet there'll be some stories about things that went wrong and mistakes that we all learned something from. And on that note, I'm visiting with Jason Irwin of North Star Livestock Operation. Can you remember any of those specific experiences where things really kind of went sideways and went haywire, but it was something that you were able to learn from? I know we've all been through that, and we talk about the things that went wrong sometimes, and we use that, but kind of scary at the moment, or you wondered if you were going to survive it. It makes for a good story later on. You must have a few of those.
I've got one or two. I guess the first one that springs to mind, one of the first horses I tried to train bridleless. I worked in the round pen with it a little bit. It already was a trained horse to some degree, but I had it moving around the round pen with the halter and lead rope on, and I'd tie the lead rope off to the horn, and I could steer it with my feet and stuff like that, but I never actually took the halter right off the horse. So one day I was out in the field riding around, steering it just with my feet, and I thought, well, I'm not holding on to the rein anyways, so I'll just drop the bridle off its head and we'll make this official. I don't think that bridle was off its face for 2 seconds before it was in a dead run. And we took off 100 miles an hour, and we were aiming at a fence corner. And I knew, well, we were going so fast, I was debating about diving off. And then we were going so fast, that ground was looking harder with every step. And then I thought, well, we're going to get up to the fence, and one of two things is going to happen. She's going to try to jump it, which is she's not going to make it because it was a high one. We're going to crash into it, and I'm going to flip over the opposite side. Or the other thing is she's going to swerve at the last second, and I knew where the footing was. If this wasn't going to happen, she was going to go down. So I always kind of...
Well, we'll take a commercial break here, folks. Tell you what happened. No, this is getting pretty exciting.
Well, I was going along, and I say these thoughts were flashing through my mind pretty quick. It's jump and get killed or hit the fence and get killed. So anyways, it's kind of funny in a way. I'm a terrible roper, and I never pretend to be any good. But for whatever reason that day I did have a lariat tied onto my saddle. So all of a sudden it crossed my mind in a flash, and I undid it really quick, made a small loop, flipped it over the horse's head, and got it up around the throat latch and pulled enough that she slowed down just enough that we ran into the corner, but she could get herself stopped. So as soon as the feet somewhat slowed down, I dove off in that corner. So now I'm a little more, I still do train horses to ride with no bridle sometimes, and I enjoy it, but I may be just a little bit careful. I put a few more steps in there before I go to that point.
Man, that could be a whole new event, roping your own horse while you're on her back.
I don't think John Wayne would have been proud. It's great when you go out and you can be a cowboy and rope stock, but when you're forced to rope the horse you're riding, that's not the best thing in the world.
He was born to ride the rough ones. He'll live and die a tough one. But there's a whole lot more to him than you can see. He's simply complicated, overly underrated. He's everything a cowboy should be. He grew up in Wyoming, left his family and his home, and he hit the road to make a better life. At times he gets so lonely, but the adrenaline and coffee keep him searching for another bronc to ride. From Houston out to Cheyenne, with no guarantee that he'll win, just another chance to feed the fire that's burning deep inside. He'll pay to ride the devil, win a buckle for his trouble, then go searching for another bronc to ride. He's one win short of Vegas, but he knows that he'll make it, 'cause he's vowed to let his heart lead him on to the money and the glory, and the chance to have his story written into a damn good cowboy song. From Houston out to Cheyenne, with no guarantee that he'll win, just another chance to feed the fire that's burning deep inside. He'll pay to ride the devil, win a buckle for his trouble, then go searching for another bronc to ride. He was born to ride the rough ones. He'll live and die a tough one, but there's a whole lot more to him than you can see. He's simply complicated, overly underrated. He's everything a cowboy should be. He's everything a cowboy should be.
as you might have guessed, another bronc to ride, and we're visiting with Jason Irwin today, and we were talking about riding bridleless.
I remember I was trying to do a bridleless demonstration with a mare that was really good, and I worked her at home in the arena. I could sit on her, play my guitar, and sing cowboy songs, and put the guitar down and change leads and lope around and everything, and then stop and pick up the guitar and sing another song. And they booked us for this great big anniversary event way up in Tumbler Ridge, and it was on a football field. And I got out there, and I didn't realize that there was 6 inches of lush grass on that football field. It wasn't quite the same as a bare arena when we got in there bridleless. So.
Did she go down?
Oh, yeah. She could not resist. You know?
Yeah. So. I had one run away with me one time, and it wouldn't have been too bad, but we were going along, went to make a corner, and turned out that was sort of a slick spot of mud that I didn't really see coming there, and the horse basically laid down on me at a dead run and rolled my ankle over and broke my ankle and left me out in the field. So the horse ran back to the barn, and someone noticed it and come and got me. So it wasn't a good experience, but it was if you ride a lot of horses, this stuff. Now, mind you, if you kind of skate on the edge a little bit, so like I'm always kind of trying to see how far I can go to some degree within reason. Yeah. So if you're walking on the edge every so often, you're maybe going to go one step too far, but overall, I have laid out a step-by-step plan. So when I'm doing something that looks interesting or exciting, I've actually built a pretty good foundation to get there. It's not just a Hail Mary.
You ever have any serious injuries over the years?
Oh, yeah. But not for those reasons. The ones that I got hurt with horses, one time, one of the first horses I started when I was about 13, I got on one, and it got into a bucking fit, and it threw me over the front end, which didn't matter that much, but then it was still bucking. It bucked over top of me, and when she was kicking out with the back feet, not at me, but just as she was bucking, kicked me in the chest and rolled me over 3 times, and it shattered my spleen. Ooh. So I was outside for a long time before I could hobble to the house because I was going to pass out when I was walking. So I got to the house, and they took me into the hospital, and they said, yeah, just have your spleen out. But I've gotten a few other busted bones and stuff like that. That's the worst one. But something with me, I ride quite a few. I always tell people I start colts, but in reality, I seem to get more problem horses that need fixing than I do young horses. I get a lot of young horses too, mind you, but I kind of sometimes ride the ones that other people don't really want to, so sometimes it's hard not to get into a little bit of trouble.
Well, in just a little while here, Jason and I will be joined with 2 more fine horsemen, Alex Alves and Kade Mills. And Baxter Black is next when the Spirit of the West continues right after this.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan with a little peek at handicapping the world. Ladies and gentlemen and followers of cowboy humor, in a moment of weakness, I, Baxter Black, have written another book. I appreciate it. Its title is Scrambled Wisdom. Almost isn't is it? Which almost makes sense. Well, our offer does make sense. Only $19.95 plus shipping. A solid gold guarantee. Call 800-654-2550. Online at BaxterBlack.com. Fred is a number 4 header. He claims he's just a number 3, but I've seen him rope, and whoever rated him a 4 gave him a gift. His wife, Debbie's a number 2, but she claims she's a number 1. Well, this handicapping of team ropers, according to ability, has been great for the sport, and since every roper I know claims his handicap's overrated, the system must be fair. Fred pointed out that we're all griping because our handicaps are too high. But what if the handicap system was applied to our other abilities? Fred's a Western artist, and I wonder if he'd be satisfied to be a number 4 artist. What would that make Charles Russell or Galen Propp? Galen painted my house. Well, Debbie suggested we look at life differently if every skill had a handicap. So, say we had to get a tooth filled. Dentists in the yellow pages would be listed. Dr. Garvey, a number 4, root canals and lack odontia. Dr. Graham, a number 3, orthodontics and bits sharpened. Dr. Guzman, extractions, a number 2, but we have gas. Debbie, quick, I've got chest pains. Call the doctor. Well, which one do you want? I got a number 6 who won't take credit cards, a number 4 that requires you join Amway before angioplasty, and a number 2 who's got a class action suit against him, but he can see you right away. Law firms make a big deal about hiring graduates with the highest grade point, their handicap, if you will. Well, the assumption is that those will make the best lawyers, whose job should be to uphold, interpret, and defend the law. Well, a quick glance at the miasma of the legal profession swamp today would suggest scholastic achievement might be as poor a method of selection as size of feet or depth of father's pocketbook. Well, how could we handicap hairdressers or psychics, plumbers, horse trainers, milkers, or embalmers? By speed or quantity or shininess? Yep, we had Uncle Harold done at Bill's drive-through funeral home. He's a 6, you know. Harold looked almost real, except for the onion rings, but it only took 20 minutes. In conclusion, I'd say that handicapping anything using subjective guidelines such as popularity, essay testing, or taste would do nothing but create more dissension in the world. Which reminds me, they made me a number 3 healer, when in fact, I should be a number 2. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan. Thanks for listening.
As cattle ranchers, we put up with the weather, the uncertain markets, the long hours, because we care for cattle. We'd gladly give up a night's sleep to keep a newborn calf alive. And that's why we're embracing a new product that minimizes the discomfort felt when necessary procedures are carried out. When calves are treated with meloxicam oral suspension at branding, the pain relief lasts a minimum of 56 hours. Contact your vet and visit solvet.ca. Meloxicam, because it's the right thing to do. Just ahead of the Rangeland News, some good Canadian names coming up in this one, produced by Alan Christie and written and sung by Mel Brown.
Give me this, get me that, get it fast, it's a matter of fact. Get it right, not in between, get me running like some damn machine. What it's all worth and what it's all for, a lot of things I don't get anymore. I get a little in and I get a little corb and I get a little bit of like it was before. You sing a little bit about the cowboy ways and I feel a little better about the hell I raised. I don't get new country music anymore, but I get a little in and I get a little cold. Get my dinner from a fishing line, what I grow out back at that house of mine. Mom and Dad raised us on a quarter of land. That kind of living I understand. Like my friends, like to sing a song, don't like to fight, I like to get along. And I get a little in and I get a little corb and I get a little bit of like it was before. And sing a little bit about the cowboy ways and I feel a little better about the hell I raised. I don't get new country music anymore, but I get a little in and I get a little corb. South, we sing it like this.
Get a little girth and I get a little Sam and I get a little bit of I don't give a damn. Or sing a little bit about old Blaze and I feel a little better about the hell I raised. Don't get much about modern man, but I get a little girth and I get a little Sam. And I don't get new country music anymore, but I get a little in and I get a little chord.
Now the Rangeland News on the Spirit of the West. A roundup of news and coming events from cattle drives to horse shows.
At the top of page 1, it says, like so many of our friends and neighbors, Billy and I love going down to the auction yard on sale day. Sometimes we're selling or buying, but we always watch the prices. And when we're selling calves, we like them high. And when we're buying bred cows or pairs, we want them down low. But man, when we go to the retail meat counter, or even worse, to an upscale restaurant, that menu price is tough for a frugal old cowboy couple to handle. Well, maybe that part is changing. Here's Gary Crawford.
Maybe you've noticed lately retail beef prices are climbing a little bit. The Consumer Price Index showing that beef prices last month
rose 1.7%.
Which, according to Department of Agriculture analyst Anne-Marie Coons, takes average prices for beef to 0.4% higher than this time a year ago. However, things could change because of what's happening further down the production chain.
We have been seeing declines at the farm and wholesale level for beef. This past month, farm-level cattle prices declined 6.8%, and wholesale beef prices were down 3%.
So she says this could suggest that
in the next coming months, we'll start to see that trickle towards retail and see this trend downwards in beef and veal prices.
Now, how far beef prices might trickle down, that's still up in the air. The next USDA food price forecast comes on May 25th. One thing is clear, there is more beef out there, more being produced than last year. Analysts say about 4% more. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture, Washington.
Exposure to farms seems to reduce the risk of allergy sensitivity even among adults, and living close to a livestock operation in particular might curb common allergies. Based on more than 2,400 adults in the Netherlands, researchers found that people who lived within about 327 meters or 1,073 feet of a farm, but were not farmers themselves, were about 21% less likely to experience a range of allergies compared to those living 500 meters or 1,640 feet away or more. Now, the results were similar when researchers looked specifically at proximity to a cattle or pig farm, although not for poultry farms. The apparent protection was also seen among people without allergy symptoms, but whose blood tests showed a tendency to have an immune reaction associated with common allergies, food allergies, asthma, and eczema. For 20 years, a large number of studies have shown that allergies are less prevalent in farmers' children, said censor study author Lidwin Smit of that university in the Netherlands. Cochrane, Alberta rancher John Simpson has donated $2 million for a new research chair at Calgary's University Faculty of Veterinary Medicine. The $2 million endowment will be used for projects that don't easily find support from other funding agencies. The endowment was praised by Dr. Craig Doran, a 2016 winner of the province's Veterinarian of the Year award and a longtime advocate of practices such as low-stress weaning and pre-weaning vaccination to reduce diseases in feedlots. Wow, I haven't seen Dr. Craig Doran for a long time, but I remember having some great times with him and the old Kamloops cattle drives over the years. Not only a great vet, but pretty good cowboy, too. I remember pushing a lot of animals up the chute when he was either spraying heifers or preg testing at some of our neighbors' places when he lived out in this part of the world. And the El Nino weather pattern associated with warmer and wetter weather than normal may give rise to damaging conditions, and they say that could emerge by the 2018-19 Northern Hemisphere winter, with neutral conditions expected to prevail through November this year, according to a U.S. government weather forecaster. The last El Nino, a warming of ocean surface temperatures in the eastern and central Pacific that typically occurs every few years, was linked to crop damage, fires, and flash floods in 2016. And historically milder than normal winters and springs are known to occur in western, northwestern, and central Canada during El Nino periods, according to Environment Canada. Well, his wandering cowboy microphone is on the road again. Looking forward to the 42nd annual Ivan Danes Country Music Picnic, August 9th to 12th at the Danes Rodeo Ranch at Innisfail. And I'll have my brother Jim and Uncle Mike there, the famous Western Spirit Band. And among the great entertainers Ivan's lined up, you'll see Russell DeCarl. And his solo career has really taken off. You might remember him as the front man and lead singer for that great group Prairie Oyster. And then the Western Spirit will be in the Old McDonald's Music Festival Saturday, September the 8th. That's at Old McDonald's on the south shore of Buffalo Lake near Erskine, Alberta. And we'll be on in the afternoon, and just ahead of us in the morning, there will be one of my favorite groups, the Alberta Country Music Legends. Tickets are only available by calling this number, 403-742-6603. And then, of course, the 17th annual Spirit of the West Cruise. We fly to Quebec City, spend the night in the beautiful Fairmont Chateau Frontenac, and then board the ship and sail down the St. Lawrence to Charlottetown, Sydney, Halifax, St. John, and then down the coast of Maine and Massachusetts, New Jersey, and wrap it up in New York. And I hope the Mets keep winning, because we will be at one of their games at Citi Field in New York City before we head home. Get all the information, because I think we have room for you yet, at our cruise line number 1-800-530-0131. Well, the next 3 regular cattle sales at the BC Livestock Co-op in Kamloops, June the 12th, June 26th, and July 10th. You can get all the information and watch the sales live at bclivestock.bc.ca. And meanwhile, over at the Innisfail Auction Market, regular cattle sales every Wednesday, big machinery sale on June 26th, and of course the 58th annual Innisfail Pro Rodeo at the Danes Ranch coming up June 15th, 16th, and 17th. And we're at the final item, and we're getting to the late stages of brandings in our part of the West. A few left, and at this time of year, those calves can be pretty husky. I love going to neighborhood brandings, taking my horse, my rope, and my guitar, and when the job is done, the great branding meal has been consumed, we'll sit around and all sing a few old cowboy songs. I love doing that almost as much as healing calves. And a while back, after I'd done my best job on a bunch of my favorite songs, an old cowboy sitting next to me seemed to be hanging on every note. And I said, "You got any favorites, Fred?" He said, "I only know 2 songs. One of them's Home on the Range, and the other one isn't." And that's the Rangeland News. Coming up on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, why did this otherwise perfect gelding try to kick the walls down every time he stood in a tie stall for more than 20 minutes? And 2 more fine horse trainers join us when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. Hey, Jeff, what time is it now?
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
Some folks spend their springtime on a patio.
This Bellini is simply scrumptious.
Ah, that's nice, but hey, I'd rather spend it in the grandstand with the dust, mud, and roar of the crowd. And if you prefer the rodeo scene like me, head for Urban Tack and Western Wear. Boots, belts, jeans, shirts, hats, accessories, the top names, great prices, suit up in style this rodeo season. Urban's is Canada's largest Western store, easy to find at exit 305 off Highway 2 by Crossfield.
Don't just wear it, live it. Urban Tack and Western Wear.
So this listener says he has a real nice 7-year-old gelding. He's well-mannered, well-broke, safe to ride anywhere by himself or with a group of riders. He loves working cattle, and he has even done some roping with him. He's easy to catch, loads willingly, and is just a treasure to be around. He'll stand tied to the trailer for hours, and he's never pulled back. My first response was, "How much do you want for him? I'd like to buy him." But he says this horse does have one annoying, destructive problem. It's taken a lot of time to repair some of the damage. Whoa. What's that? I said. Well, he said, he's got a barn with a couple of tie stalls. When he ties this horse in his usual place next to the wall, with hay in the manger and ration in the grain box, after he stands there for any more than 20 minutes, he'll start violently kicking at the walls of the stall. At that point, I said, I think I know the problem. I had a horse that did that very same thing. Old Zip was pretty good, but our barn still has all the marks from his hind feet along the wall of his stall. Here's how I discovered the problem and the cure. After he'd nearly kicked right through the wall, I untied him and let him out the barn door. 3 steps from the barn door, he stretched out and drained his bladder, and boy, it had been full. For some reason, he felt he could not stretch out and pee while he was standing in the stall. And as the discomfort got worse and worse, he would respond by kicking the stall walls. Once he'd relieved himself, he was fine until the urge came back, and I wouldn't be surprised if that was the problem with this listener's horse. Good luck. And for Urban Saddles and Western Wear, that's the Horse Training File. That daily feeding of Hoffman's horse ration sure keeps our horses looking good and feeling good. You can find out more at hoffmanshorseration.com. Two more top hands are standing by to talk about a couple of their most memorable wrecks, which can happen in spite of the best laid plans and the most reliable horses or the quietest cattle. I'll talk with Alex Alves and Kade Mills after this one from Bob Marshall.
My father was a saddle tramp, my mother was a saint. She put up with his cowboy ways, never voiced complaint. One day my father left the ranch to strike out on his own. She hung a homemade sign above the doorway to our home. May your belly never grumble, your heart never ache, your horse never stumble, and your cinch never break. May your life be filled with laughter in good times and despair. May God see you in heaven, for the devil knows you're there. Once I had a pretty wife, a home to hang my spurs. I thought I'd best quit my roaming cowboy days for her. She saw it broke my heart, left my soul half dead. Loving thee, she set me free, and this is what she said. May your belly never grumble, your heart never ache, your horse never stumble, and your cinch never break. May your life be filled with laughter in good times and despair. May God see you in heaven, for the devil knows you're there. Saddles and many miles rode. I'm older but no wiser for those wild seeds I've sowed. But when I reach that final gate to heaven's grazing lands, I hope to hear St. Peter's voice giving this command. May your belly never grumble, your heart never ache, your horse never stumble, and your cinch never break. May your life be filled with laughter in good times and despair. May God see you in heaven, for the devil knows you're there. May God see you in heaven, for the devil knows you're there.
It's called Cowboy Blessing. It's Bob Marshall. And Alex Alves, who runs Hat Creek Performance Horses out by Strathmore, and Kade Mills, fine trainer working out of Sundre, just dropped in. So boys, let's hear about some of your horseback adventures. Alex, you're first.
Oh, I've been through a few, most of them not on horses that are in training, more the saddle bronc horses that I was riding at the time when I was younger. But not so much now. Now it's just old injuries that keep flaring up more than anything. I've had a few, but not too many. I guess the worst that comes to mind now would be I was riding a 4-year-old mare just getting started, or just starting her, and she reared up, went over backwards, and when she started to get back to her feet, my legs got caught in the Kade reins, and she trucked me around for about 60 feet while I was reaching up, cutting myself free, and I was really lucky that day. Really lucky.
Darn good thing you had a knife you could get a hold of there.
I'll never ride without a knife. That's the dumbest thing you can do in the world.
One you can reach if you have to.
Yeah, it's got to be right there.
Yeah. Kade, you were saying that, was it Travis Beaton had a trailer loading story or something?
It wasn't a wreck. It was Travis's first big trainer challenge he'd went to. We were in Ontario, and me and Travis were 10 points apart going to the finals. They posted everything. And He got stubborn in his mind. He went to the trailer first, and he spent 17 minutes on the trailer.
Oh, no.
And then I was telling the judges, I was telling Mel Highland, somebody tell him you don't have to do the trailer. You can do something else. Somebody tell him. And
it's optional.
I ended up beating him by 30 points, and he didn't get to do 3 obstacles.
Oh, my gosh.
I had to bring it up because it's still a little bit of stick in his cross.
Yeah. Have you ridden some miles with Travis on the McIntyre?
I haven't been down to the McIntyre. It's on my to-do list for sure, but with clinics and training and stuff at home, it's been hard to get away. But it's on my to-do list. I'm going to go down there and see that country and ride with them boys for sure.
Seems to me about this time last year, or was it earlier, you were hobbling around with some injury or something you got?
Yeah, I had a lady come for a lesson that I didn't know. And while she was getting on her horse, I was finishing up another lesson, so I was faced away from her. And when she got on her horse at the mounting block, he run off on her when she was half on, so he was running blind, looking at her on the left, and I was on the right. And he T-boned me and my horse, and what he did is he knocked us down, but my horse was on me, and her horse was on top of both of us.
Oh, my gosh.
And, I couldn't get up, and then my horn, as my horse was trying to get up, the other horse was rolling him on top of me, so the horn was kind of crushing me a little bit, and I broke some ribs and had a little bit of a bad back for a while, but I'm all healed up, got some back on track, I'm good.
It's okay now.
Oh, I'm good. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, I don't want to hold you guys up because you've had a grueling weekend, but I got to tell you, it's just been an honor being there and being able to say a few words and interpret to the crowd some of the wonderful things you all did with these colts. And it was just great of you to take the time to do this. Appreciate it so much, and all the best to all three of you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Hugh. It was great having you out here, too.
And here's a great bronc rider, cowboy, rancher, and artist we lost way too soon. And I don't know why we don't hear his music more. A legend for sure. And he and the great Ivan Daines went down the road together for a number of years, riding broncs, picking and singing, and selling cassette tapes off the pickup tailgate. And of course, I'm referring to the legend, Chris Ledoux.
Just a rodeo drifter, he comes and he goes, like a wild wind that blows in the night. The highways and back roads are all that he knows. He'll be gone with the morning's gray light. Like a blue norther howling, like the tumbleweeds blow. There's no way to settle him down. His spirit's as wild as the horses he rides. His freedom he wears like a crown. And he rides the wild horses. The same blood flows through their veins. Yes, he rides the wild horses. Like the horses he'll never be tamed. He'll never be broke, he won't be tied down. He'll never wear no man's brand. He won't fit in with the 9-to-5 crowd. His moving's all he understands. And he rides the wild horses. The same blood flows through their veins. Yes, he rides the wild horses. Like the horses he'll never be tamed. And he rides the wild horses. The same blood flows through their veins. Yes, he rides the wild horses. Like the horses he'll never be tamed.
Next, you'll hear our classic Song of the West, appropriately enough, one about another great bucking horse. And Chris Isaacs is back in the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. The classic Song of the West for this week reflects what these three guys have been talking about, The Good Hands Who Ride Tough Horses, and when this CD arrived, I knew I'd heard the song somewhere and could remember a lot of the words, but not much more about it. I thought it was pretty old, but when I started doing the research, I found out that it only goes back to 1963. That's the year Billy and I tied the knot. Turns out it was written by a gal they called the den mother of Music Row, Mary John Wilkin. She was a publisher who nurtured such songwriters as Chris Christopherson and Ed Bruce. She had a formidable talent herself, writing classics like The Long Black Veil for Lefty Frizzell and One Day at a Time. And she collaborated with lyricist Fred Birch on this one, and the version I remember was by Stonewall Jackson. And in their celebration album, 40 Years the Cowboy Way, Riders in the Sky do a great job on Old Showboat.
I blew into Dallas, feeling kinda low. I thought I'd make me a bit of change at the rodeo. I heard the line boss saying, "You ornery cowpoke, 15 bills to any man who can ride showboat. Who can ride showboat? Showboat, showboat. You old cuss, you old cuss. I'm gonna ride you or I'll bust. Hold the reins, watch him change, watch him change. Turn him loose, that old cayuse I'm gonna ride."
They put me in the saddle, the reins were in my hand. Then I saw her sitting there, watching from the stand. She was kinda pretty, a blonde with big blue eyes. I could see it hurt her so to see me have to ride.
To see me have to ride.
Showboat,
showboat.
That old cuss,
that old cuss.
I'm gonna
ride him or I'll bust.
Hold the reins,
watch him change,
watch him change.
Turn him loose, that cayuse I'm gonna ride.
He bucked me once a-running, then he looked me in the eye. I slid down around his neck, reaching for the sky. Then he sent me flying like a little bird. Lord, I think when I came down, I ate 10 pounds of dirt.
Ate 10 pounds of dirt.
Showboat,
showboat.
You old cuss,
you old cuss.
I'm gonna
ride you or I'll bust.
Hold the reins,
ain't
it a shame,
ain't it a shame.
That cayuse
done throwed me loose and broke my leg.
Well, I woke up in the general, feeling kinda hurt, till I found out that blue-eyed blonde turned out to be my nurse. She fixed me up with patches and love I thought was free, till she said, "Now, cowboy, you're gonna marry me. Gonna marry me." Showboat,
showboat.
You old cuss,
you old cuss.
You done
Fixed me up much worse.
Just hold the reins, Ain't it a shame,
ain't it a shame.
I'm getting married,
and oh showboat, you're to blame. Showboat, you old cuss. I'm gonna ride you or I'll bust. Hold the reins, ain't it a shame. I'm getting married, and oh showboat, you're to blame.
One of the many things I love about those guys, Riders in the Sky, is they say, we have a lot of fun with cowboy music, but we never make fun of cowboy music. They are so real. Chris Isaacs describes himself as a cowboy by profession and an entertainer by accident. And he's one of my favorite reciters, just something about his delivery that really draws you in. And also one of the nicest guys you could ever meet. And I love hearing his own compositions, but he does a fine job on other people's words as well. Chris?
The life of a cowman is forever intertwined with his banker. My old pard, Rolf Flake, is an Arizona cattleman who wrote a poem that I think most folks in the cow business can relate to. It's called The Eyes Have It. Well, I went to see my banker. I needed to borrow me some dough, but I went with fear and trembling because I was scared he'd tell me no. But my banker, he surprised me. He said, "I'll tell you what I'll do. I've got one glass eye, and if you can tell which, I'll just make that loan to you." Now, I'm sure he'd tried this trick on many an unsuspecting catch, and he'd probably won more times than lost, 'cause his eyes was so well matched. Well, how could I know? How could I tell? But then I saw the light. "Why, it's that one, sir, I'm sure it is. The one there on the right." Now, my banker was astonished that I could tell so fast, but he said, "I'll keep my word. You get your loan. But tell me, how did you guess?" I said, "Well, sir, it was easy. You see, I figured it in this fashion. The one on the right, the glass eye, has just a glimmer of compassion."
Thank you so much for making the ride, and I sure hope you can join us right here next week at the same time. And as always, thanks to our great support crew, Mark and Kathy McMillan. They own and operate beautiful Meadow Springs Guest Ranch, and if you need tractor parts, any make, any year, Mark can help you with his page, bctractorparts.com. Oh yeah, and the latest issue of Canadian Cowboy Country is sure a page-turner, and no, that's definitely not me on the cover. Pick it up at your favorite newsstand or see cowboycountrymagazine.com, or you can call them at 1-800-943-7336. Till next week, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.